Star Wars. You and your children loved it. Now, the Earthlings at Kenner have asked my associate and me to present the Star Wars collection. Truly remarkable toys and games for your children. What are you so excited about now? My goodness, the Star Wars TIE Fighter and X-Wing fighter. Now your children can relive our great space battles or collect our wonderful Star Wars companions with Kenner's Star Wars action figures. R2, it's a little you. Kenner's new radio-controlled R2-D2 anyone can command. The Star Wars land speeder that moves like it's floating. And here's Kenner's Death Star space station, 4 floors of action. A trash compactor, too. Listen, R2, that's the Star Wars electronic laser battle, a game of speed, reflex, and reaction. These and other toys and games in Kenner's Star Wars collection are sold separately. Batteries are not included. May the Force be with you and your children.
Hi everybody, and welcome once again to Geekfest Rants. My name is Carlos Perone, and joining me today, I have 2 of the stars of the hit Travel Channel show, Toy Hunter. With us, we have Jordan Hembrough and Stevie Savino. We came and sat down here at Hollywood Heroes, Jordan's gallery here in Westwood, where he has all types of vintage and modern collectibles for sale. Okay, we're here at the actual gallery here with Jordan Hembrough and Stevie Savino. Tell us a little bit about, either one of you, your earlier memories of collecting in terms of before you were considered to be a collector, before you actually look for certain stuff. Were there any childhood toys you guys had that, you know, your parents might say he was always holding this, he was always playing with that?
I was a Star Wars kid. I mean, Stevie knows me, well, you know me like 20 years. I've always been a Star Wars
26.
kid. 26. Oh my God, I'm old. I've always been a Star Wars kid. You know, I mean, I can still go back looking through like childhood photos with me with like a C-3PO figure and a Chewbacca in my hand and stuff like that. And Migo, you were probably a little different because you were older, a little older than me.
You make me sound like you're a little different. You know.
No, like you're a little older than me. Your toys are probably different.
No, my age, let's see, Batman. I grew up in 1966, and that was the
Adam
big
West.
Beetle toys, Batman, monkeys. To this day, I still love it. I still love it. I'm a big kid at heart.
And they still put out, it's not like it stopped when the show ended or the stuff just keeps coming out.
Yeah, Batman was still hot in the 70s by all different companies, you know. It's still great. And now I'm still collecting again, you know, some of the newer stuff.
Once you guys started actually buying your own stuff or your parents would buy you stuff, did you notice going through different phases of toy collecting? Like Star Wars is like, I have the same problem. You're always in the Star Wars phase no matter what you do. But did you ever get away from it and jump onto Transformers or anything else like that?
I was Star Wars. I mean, for a while, I think I went through Clash of the Titans, which is awesome.
And it's very small. It's a small collection.
It is. So I grabbed everything. Raiders of the Lost Ark, I did. I did Raiders. I really didn't do, Masters. I never did G.I. Joe. But I was just a huge Star Wars kid up until Jedi. That's all I did.
I'm getting into Transformers now. Remember, Transformers was out in the 80s. So I'm still looking for older stuff.
That's what I was going to say. Modern or old? Like the old stuff.
Yeah, that's, because that's what they had me on the show for like vintage toys.
Did you ever dabble in GoBots?
Now, going back in the 80s, no, because when I'm out there back in the 70s, right, in the 80s, I'm still looking for the older stuff. Transformers, Star Wars was still on the shelves. So why am I going to buy that? I'm still looking for vintage.
It's like you're always catching up to the stuff you missed.
Yeah,
so now,
cyclical.
Now, me and him are fighting for Star Wars, vintage Star Wars, Transformers, go back, Turtles now. Look at that.
Turtles are crazy.
Oh, well, the movie's about to come out, and I'm sure it's going to explode all over again. At what point do you think you started to thinking in a collector's type of mentality of, you know what, don't open this one, let's save this one? What point did you think you started doing that?
You know what, it actually started when I started working for Starlog, and I was the buyer for Starlog, the chain of retail stores that,
I used to love Starlog.
13 stores around the world.
Wow.
So that's really when I started looking at this like, wow, this is a business type of thing. You can really, really make money off of this. I was dealing toys like as young as 16, but when it came to like professionally and looking at like a business model type of thing, that's had to be when it was, because, I was in charge of like buying for 13 stores all over the world. And I said, wow, there's like a lot of money in these vintage toys.
And that's how we met.
Through Starlog.
Starlog.
Yeah. Because I used to sell stuff to the company. Well, actually to him. And then he would distribute it out to different stores.
Stevie would be like, he was one of our vendors. It was cool.
I probably have stuff that you guys might have sent me, for all I know.
Well, what's really cool is I'll tell you how like things work in a weird kind of way. Is we had people coming into the store here, like selling me toys, and they had Starlog price tag stickers on them, and I was like, "Holy mackerel, where'd you get this?" He's like, Garden State Plaza, New Jersey. I'm like, I'm the one who probably put it in the store. Yeah, it was nuts.
It was good. See, I go back to 1977 when I first started. I was in baseball cards.
Okay.
And then I just dabbled along at a garage sale, a nice hot summer day, and I'm looking at 60s and early 70s cards. And all of a sudden I see a huge box of toys. I'm seeing Migos. I see G.I. Joe's popping out of the box. I see the Batmobile by Mego. And I'm just like, what are you doing with that? She's like, she goes, give me $20 for the whole box. And I'm just like, you know what? I bought the baseball cards. I bought the box, and after that, it was just like it's history. I'm like, I kept looking for it. Never knew there were shows. I don't even think there was back in the say 77, 1978.
Maybe garage sales or flea markets,
I remember doing
stuff like that.
Paramus Park baseball card convention.
Oh wow!
It would go around the mall, all different dealers and stuff. And I was there with Mr. Mint. Everybody knows him.
Al Rosen, yeah.
Wow.
Even back then, the shows were small. I mean, you go to a show and be like in a VFW hall.
Like a swap meet type of deal.
Oh, it was tiny. I mean, I can remember going to the shows and everything, and I'd go with Stu, one of the guys who worked with me, and we'd go to like a show and be like at the Holiday Inn. And it was like 3 or 4 rooms, but to us, it was like the biggest thing. We spent the whole day there, or sometimes 2 days, because there was nothing else around.
Yeah, maximum tables, maybe 60 tables to 100 tables. Right. And now when you go to big, comic book conventions, you're talking 1,500. We were, 2 years ago, we were at 1,501, our booth.
Now, where were they, the big, because I know, like, I don't know if it was Creation or Comic-Con was technically around, but...
Creation's still around.
Were they?
Are they really?
No,
I thought they were out of
then.
business. Creation Entertainment's still around?
I think so.
They have an online store, I think, still.
Really?
Which might just be a
See, I didn't know that.
In an office building.
I didn't know that. Creation used to be one of the biggest ones back when I was...
They were known for Star Trek.
Star Trek.
Well, Creation, I remember the Star Wars 10th Anniversary Convention in California, the official first 10th Anniversary Convention.
In Denver?
In California, in Los Angeles. 10th anniversary of Star Wars,
okay.
1987.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Where it was sponsored by Creation.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And Starlog sponsored it, and I think that was a big deal back
then.
And
there was a big one in the Rotham Center in Hackensack in the 90s.
I don't remember that.
I was walking around.
Yeah, I still think of like Star Wars like the official Star Wars celebration, which was
Colorado,
in Denver. Yeah, the first one. Yeah, but Creation was doing it way before that. And so was Starlog, Norm Jacobs. He was in here last Saturday.
Yeah, what a great guy.
Yes, great guy.
Carrie O'Quinn?
Carrie O'Quinn, yeah. And we just lost Rita, who was Norm's longtime secretary, but she was absolutely wonderful, wonderful woman.
But I read somewhere they're trying to revive the magazine now, online?
Yeah, they are. That's what Norm was telling me. They're trying to bring it back online.
They put all the archives. I remember seeing them up for grabs. Everybody could go and look through the archives online. It was just like amazing. It's like,
it was great. I mean, Norm, I got to tell you, Norm truly was a visionary for the time. Nobody was doing what he was doing. And, with... A lot of people don't know that Norm also did Fangoria.
That's right.
So he did Starlog.
I was afraid of that magazine.
Fangoria.
I was like,
he did it both. Norm, he almost put Famous Monsters out of business and Forey Ackerman, because he came along and it was just like nothing else. And
and pre-internet, that's the only place you could go to get that stuff.
Yeah,
information.
He was the first one also Norm was the first one to start selling the product in the back of the magazines. You really didn't see a lot of that. Every now and then you would see it in Famous Monsters.
The Luke Skywalker jacket, the Empire jacket would be in the back. Raiders.
That's how we got the job. That's how we got the idea for the stores. He's like, I'm selling it all in the back of the mag. I might as well just open a store.
Yeah, Famous Monsters just have some great stuff back in the magazines. All the models were like $1.19 or 99 cents for Aurora models.
Again, if you can go back in time. Let me ask you about your actual collections.
Yeah.
At what point did you first open everything, and at a certain point said, you know what, let's keep stuff mint and card or unopened boxes and stuff like that?
I opened everything. I mean, the funny thing is I opened everything, but for my ships and play sets, I would save the boxes. So I opened up all the cards and everything, the figures, but I had all the boxes and everything for everything else. So
you put it back in case.
It kind of went back there loose in the box, their houses. Yeah, I kept them all nice and neat.
So like when I was going around to the garage sales, most of it's all been played with. So a lot of my stuff that I did pick up, it was open already, Yeah. But then when I had the insight to go back into stores, and this is where this is really good stuff. And I used to go to County Discount. Yep. I used to hit Patterson areas and the candy stores, and all of a sudden it'd be like, oh, go in the back. And now you're seeing stuff that's laying there from the 60s and 70s. And there's
collecting dust.
Yeah. And they're like, give me whatever you want.
Yeah, that was great.
And that's how I got a lot of my stuff, my
You don't see that
my
that much
inventory.
anymore.
A lot of vintage cases and stuff. Like Migos. I'm jumping into County Discount in Bergenfield. They had a whole chain. They must have had about 15 stores. And throughout Bergen County, and I even found one up in Wantar or whatever they call it.
Wantock?
Wantock, yeah.
Do you guys still own whatever childhood toys you had, or they got lost or damaged along the way? Or do you still have your stuff?
He does.
I've got some of mine. Steve, it was on the show. Steve and Julia, who used to work with us.
The one that boxed up?
They took, when I was moving, they took the box, some of my loose figures, the Star Wars, and they had them mounted. That was Stevie's idea. He had them mounted in shadow box. That's in my office right now.
Nice.
Those are my original figures from when I was a kid. And that means a lot to me.
Well, the Star Wars ones are always, they're always there. I remember the ones I had. Throughout the years, I ended up losing a lot of ships and play sets, but I kept the figures, always kept the figures. And then later on, when our son was about 6 or 7, and he started all of a sudden getting interested, and at that time it was the 90s, so it's the new second wave, the not so pretty wave.
Yeah, that you can open.
And I'm like, that's nice, Kyle, but here, look at this bag of stuff. And I gave him all my Star Wars figures.
Yeah.
And he played with them for the next 5-6 years. And when he was done, we lost some more along the way. I'm like crying along the way. And I'm like, are you done with these? He's like, yeah, okay, I'll take them back now.
Yeah, no, it's great.
And I've been reconstituting the collection once again. It's a good thing to share.
Yeah.
Do you guys have any kind of holy grail items that you're still looking for from your childhood? Not so much for the store to be able to...
For ourselves?
For yourselves. Or is that the type of stuff you'd rather not talk about so people don't
No, it's
gouge you?
I'm trying to think of everything. I mean, there's stuff that I really loved when I was a kid. I actually got I always wanted an original set of 12 backs, Star Wars, and I've got a set. I wanted an early bird kit, and I've got an early bird kit because those were the very, very first Star Wars toys. That's what started it all for me.
And you missed those in the beginning. The early bird kit.
Yeah, I did, but I've got them now. I can't really think of anything else I think if I see it, it'll hit me and I'll keep it. But other than that, I really don't collect a lot of stuff.
I'm still looking for a lot of the 60s stuff. Well, I have a lot of customers that are still like, Stevie, can you find me anything on Universal Monsters, Addams Family? That hasn't been around. You can go on the internet and find some of the stuff, card games and gumball cards.
It's in rough shape. A lot of that stuff is in rough shape.
But they're looking for the rare stuff. They're looking for paint by numbers or the bowling set by the Monsters,
Now, with your earlier stuff that you mentioned before, like the Beatles stuff, are either of you guys into unofficial toys, bootlegs, imports, that sort of thing, or you stick with the traditional U.S. made stuff?
No, I'll buy the foreign stuff. The foreign stuff's great.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll buy
knockoffs. You want
knockoffs?
That? Yeah.
Well, I'll buy licensed stuff.
Turkish figures.
The Uzes from Star Wars. They're kind of cool looking.
They're weird. They're just bizarre, and it's like, wow, somebody actually made this.
We used to have a friend who used to come down from Spain named Andre, and at the time he was making Beetle knockoff the Remco figures back in the '60s, and he's telling me they're old. They go, Stevie, they're old. I'm like, who knows? But I loved them because they looked like Paul and John and Ringo.
You didn't know back then.
Yeah, they only made 3. And it was funny, and he was coming in with box loads of them, saying these were laying over in Spain. And I'm like, you sure you're not making them? Because a lot of stuff is still being produced over there. They can do it easy.
It's just there.
So I love that stuff.
Now, I know you have a background with wrestling in terms of you used to promote wrestlers and stuff like that.
Yeah, wrestling conventions.
Did you collect any wrestling material back then?
And I still do.
Ah.
Yeah, I still have a lot of stuff.
Do you prefer the older stuff or the newer stuff?
Now I like the 80s, because that stuff is the LJNs, wrestling figures are really tough now.
But like 70s or pre-70s, were they marketing and merchandising wrestling related stuff?
No, magazines back then.
Yeah.
A lot of mags
until McMahon really came. Vince McMahon came around and truly made it into what it is today.
Titan Sports put out all the toys.
That's when all the plastic started rolling out.
Rubber. No, they started with rubber.
I mean,
the LGNs are rubber figures.
And even back in the 80s with WCW, I mean, when McMahon came out and Hulk Hogan and Roddy Piper, that's when it really became an entertainment. It's really, other than that, wrestling was in some gymnasium.
Once Hulk Hogan was the champion, everything exploded.
Everything started to gel. How about customizing? Were you guys into customizing at all?
I was. Yeah, I did all my figures. I was like every other kid. I did my Star Wars
figures. Did you do your own Tonica sisters?
No, I didn't. No, but I would take like a Luke Skywalker X-Wing pilot and I pull the head off and I take a Dremel and I Dremel out the helmet. And I'd take another one, I'd slap his head on, so I'd be like, oh, now he's got a removable helmet.
And that's exactly how Kenner would have made them, and they would have just swapped the head if they would have gone in that direction. They wouldn't mold on an entire new figure.
New figure, yeah. I wish they did that. That would have been cool.
I know you're a big Star Wars guy.
Yeah.
What do you think is personally the best line ever made in terms of, is it the Star Wars line? I'm not talking about just the 12 backs. I'm talking about the entire line.
The best are like the most influential in history. Because if you're talking about the most influential, everyone says this to me all the time. People ask me, they're like, what's the most influential toy line or the most influential company of the past 20 years or 30 years? And I gotta say Mego. Because Marty Abrams and Mego, he paved the way. I mean, he really did. He paved the way for the 7-inch or the 8-inch action figure. Then he went over to 3 3/4, and she paved the way for franchising and licensing all those properties, for toys. I mean, he was a visionary. He really did. Someone asked me the other day in a meeting. I was at a meeting for a toy company, and they say, I was talking about Marty, and they're like, "Do you think he has any peers, like any counterparts and any peers now?" I think the only peers Marty ever had was maybe someone like Louis Marx, and that was.
You think?
He's dead.
Yeah.
I mean, like you want Marvin Glass. I mean, people who really were like the visionaries back then. There's no one around today, really.
And it's funny that they're making the Mego line again, but a different company.
It's a tribute.
Now, but with Kenner, do you think? Obviously, Kenner went with that size. They tweaked it a little bit, and they were able to remove the screws, and the faces were more detailed. How does that play into it? You think they pushed the line, they continued it?
Kenner?
Yeah.
Oh, you mean you're talking about nowadays?
Yeah,
or
well,
what?
Kenner seemed to kind of overshadow Mego at a certain point because of, I guess, the popularity of Star Wars.
Well, they did. I mean,
Mego was dying, so then 1977 came out. That was the first Star Wars.
And once Kenner got that Star Wars license, just the popularity of both the toy line and the company.
But then the movie helped it too.
The movies it was like printing money.
Yeah. It was, and you can't, you just can't do it. You just can't compare now. But that figure line, the 5 points of articulation on
the
that
influence
classic,
of the line.
Well, yeah, but what's really cool is the line was really, it was just a cool line, because if you remember, the classic Star Wars figures had the 5 points of articulation, both of the arms, both of the legs, and the neck. And in fact, I just remember at Toy Fair last year, I remember Daryl DePriest from Kenner coming up to me, and he's like, "Look at this stuff, it's really cool." And they're bringing back out these action figures that have these 5 points of articulation. He goes, "I think we're onto something here." I'm like, because it reminds you of the old figure line, and that's what people love.
Well, that's hopefully what they can capitalize on, but in reality, it's probably to save money, less articulation, less people.
It is, but I think more and more, I think people are starting to realize, like, wow, this is just like my old action figures.
We would
which is
appreciate
cool.
it more.
I would.
Especially if you don't open the figure. Who cares how much articulation if they're going to remain in a bubble?
Yeah, absolutely.
I used to like the Power of the Force figures because they always had the nice coin.
Yeah, the coins were great. I like the packaging too, because it was nothing like. It was
I could
like
never
nothing
find
else.
those guys by the
Toys
time.
R Us.
Oh, they're great. Yeah. I got a
Buck a
bunch.
piece,
Back
clearance.
then, well,
I got a bunch on the wall. Make sure you pick some up on the way out.
On the way out.
On the way out. I get your credit card.
stop at the gift shop.
Stop at the gift shop.
At the end, they were like tons and there was racks of Power of the Force, and I'm looking at again. I wasn't, buying them at the time.
I remember going to KB and seeing them in the bin. That and droids, and I remember I'm like, oh, look at Star Wars. They're still pushing it.
Well, you know what I was buying back then? Child's World was still in business.
Child World.
And Chips, Dukes, and who else was there? I forgot, and maybe the rookies were laying on the wall still.
Dukes of Hazzard.
For a buck a piece.
Like
Migos.
an idiot. I
Migos.
remember buying Nightmare Before Christmas, the Hasbro, and I remember still seeing some Star Wars figures when
my
Nightmare
God.
Before Christmas came
Yeah,
out.
when Sally and Jack skyrocketed.
They went crazy.
You want to hear a good one?
Then they crashed.
I'm at a convention, and guy had it, Sally, the big, the 16-inch, whatever, and it started at $35. At the end of the day, one dealer had it, it went to $500. And just boom, boom,
Oh
boom.
my God!
It did the Kevin Bacon thing.
They just passed them from.
Yeah.
This is the ones by Hasbro that you pulled apart the Sally.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
Sally was a tough one. Jack was tough, and Santa was tough too.
Yeah.
But everybody wanted Sally.
That's insane.
It was funny.
And
we're
Oogie
looking
Boogie.
at all of a sudden at the end, and that price stayed for a while. Sally's were up there.
I bought
And
tons
Jack.
of. I bought tons of those. I remember
Yeah,
going
'cause
to KB. and
You had
buying, like,
another
5, 7 at a time.
KB had another store. It was called Toy Works.
Yep.
And that was upstate.
Oh.
And I used to go up there a lot and visit family and stuff. And I'm like, all of a sudden, I'm like, what's going on here? All these Hasbro figures are laying in stock here. And the guy's like, 99 cents.
Yeah, it was awesome.
That's insane. Most of these toys that we deal with, or that we experience, are toys that are inspired by movies or TV shows. But how do you guys feel about the opposite? How do you feel about toy lines that then inspire their own movies.
Like Transformers?
Like Transformers.
G.I. Joe?
Like Battleship, which didn't do too well.
No, it didn't do well.
He-Man, Masters of the Universe, He-Man didn't do too well. But now we have Lego Movie, which is
great.
Amazing.
I think the property has got to be right. I mean, Transformers made sense. G.I. Joe made sense. Battleship just didn't make sense. I mean, you got to remember at one point that
the game.
No, that's by Hasbro.
Yeah.
Okay, and you've got Brian Goldner, who is a really smart guy. He's the head of Hasbro right now, but Goldner really wants to take Hasbro. This is my personal opinion, by the way.
I never liked Battleship game.
This is my personal opinion. Goldner
No.
really wants to take the company in a different direction and make it more into an entertainment company. And at one point, I don't know if a lot of people know this, Hasbro had like 7 movie deals on the table. They were going to do Candyland, they were doing Monopoly, they were doing Stretch Armstrong, they were doing Ouija, and they just someone said, This is crap. We're not going to do this.
They should have did Mousetrap. I definitely would have bought it.
I mean, you gotta make it make sense. I'll tell you, I'll go one step further though. You talk about toys influencing movies and everything. People overlooking Pirates of the Caribbean by Disney. That was a ride that influenced a movie franchise.
Talk about a flip.
Yeah, I mean, you want to talk about a theme park ride, they're like, let's make this into a movie. And that was huge for Disney. Didn't always work. Haunted Mansion didn't work. Remember Bill Cosby?
Eddie Murphy.
Eddie Murphy. Yeah,
Murphy.
Bill Cosby.
Did that go straight to video or something?
Haunted Mansion? No, that was...
Oh, no,
what was that name
the Tower of Terror went straight to video.
Tower of Terror.
With Steve Gutenberg, I think, or something.
Poor Steve Gutenberg.
Yeah, I turned that movie right off. The first scene, it was just like, click. Oh, my God.
Tower of Terror? Yeah.
No, the Haunted Mansion.
Haunted Mansion?
That-
Yeah,
yeah,
Haunted
that was
Mansion.
the
Bill
Eddie
Cosby
Murphy.
did Ghost Dad.
Ghost
that
Dad.
sucked too.
Now,
These opinions are my own. They're of my
yes,
own.
Only
They're all my
the
own.
participants of the show.
Okay.
Tell me, how do you guys feel about grading figures? The grading system, the AFA system.
Double-edged sword. It's tough.
It gives you good things, but it also,
You have a figure that's like, say, $10. You get it graded. That figure may go to $60.
Yeah, I mean, it's good for sellers like us because, we can say, well, look, it's an 85. We might be able to get a higher grade. There are a lot of collectors out there who say, well, they only collect grades. Like, I only collect 85. It gives some people a peace of mind. But then there are a lot of other collectors who say, you know what? I've been doing this a long time. I've been doing this about 15, 20 years. I don't want anyone else to tell me what my toys should be worth or what they should be graded at. I know on my own. I'm the expert. So a lot of people look at it a little differently. And then you have other people who say, I don't want my toy encased in acrylic. I want to be able to take it out and feel it. There's something very visceral to collecting, very, very, very sort of organic. I mean, you really want to touch it. You want to feel it. You want to smell the cardboard. I mean, you really want to do that. And that's all part of the memory of collecting.
You're not going to get that if it's in carbonate.
Yeah, but we're getting now people coming in here that want to invest and put their pieces away.
Well, that's a whole other issue. When that depends on what kind of collector you are. Are you a person that actually likes to touch it, feel it, see it, or are you just flipping stuff? It depends on where you're at.
Yeah. Yeah,
No, I'm saying, but there's people, there's collectors out there. They just want to grade it because they want to just put it away. They're not
Put it away.
selling it again.
Right.
They know that they bought a set from him.
It goes
$25,000.
It goes in the vault.
Okay, for a 12-back set.
Yeah.
Boom. They want to put it away.
Right.
And you know what? They're going to make money on that. Say 10 years. Who
Well,
knows?
the fact of the matter is there's always a lot of people saying that even if you grade it, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to preserve it. Because you got to remember something. The bubbles are still going to get yellow inside that acrylic. These toys were not made to have a lifespan of 30 or 40, 50 years. Eventually, the bubble's going to get yellow and it's going to crack.
You can slow down the aging process, but it's not going to completely keep it pristine.
You can't. I mean, I think I talked to someone. Actually, there was like a physics student at Caltech who said something about, I put silica gels inside my AFA cases to avoid the moisture, and it's decreased grading and yellowing by 20%. I'm like,
you're telling
great. We took a rocket scientist to figure this out.
You're telling this audience now to give us a chance to buy your graded, because you're going to,
Yeah, it's true.
Like the
yes,
bubbles
bring
are
all
gonna-
your graded toys to Hollywood Heroes. Steve and I will buy them.
All the bubbles are going to
Absolutely.
be popping off. In the
Popping off. We'll buy them before. We'll save that for you. Save that.
There's no investment now, people. I'm sorry.
That's it. It's done. It's done.
Well, it depends on which direction you go. You could go either direction. Now, with your personal collections, would you consider yourself a completist, or are you a focus collector?
I don't really collect anymore. I can't. This is the business now.
You're just business.
This is business.
I
now,
can't
so.
collect either because I've got. I mean, I'll tell you right
We
now.
have overhead here.
Yeah.
Look at this place.
No, but I'm obsessive. I mean, I'm by nature, I've got an obsessive compulsive personality.
You got to finish that
So
collection.
if I start collecting, I'll want everything, and I can't stop. I mean, when I buy, I'll tell you, it's quirky. When I buy sunglasses, I buy 3 at a time. When I buy sneakers, Vans, I buy 3 or 4 at a time.
He's neurotic.
I'm neurotic. You know what I collect now? I'll be honest with you, I collect cars.
Wow.
That's really
real cars,
vintage cars.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not Matchbox or Hot Wheels.
No, not Matchbox.
That's me.
I mean, I've had vintage cars. I'm looking at getting another one. So, I mean, that's really, because that's my true passion as well. Other than toys, I love vintage automobiles and vintage cars.
That's amazing.
Love that.
But when you were collecting...
And porn. Stevie turned me on to that. What?
Wow. But when you were collecting toys, did you do a similar thing? Were you buying 3, one to open, one to keep,
No,
one to...
but I was a completist. Like, when I was on my Star Wars phase, I had to have everything Star Wars. I mean, if it said Star Wars on it, it was everything. I had every Kenner toy. I mean, it was crazy. And duplicates, because you have, like, 5 or 6 stormtroopers and everything. But I had it all because I just couldn't get enough of it. It was insatiable.
But like me, when I was going around to the moms and pop stores, I'm cleaning you out. I'm not leaving anything.
Yeah.
Or I'm leaving you as the cockroaches or whatever, laying on the walls and cobwebs.
Well, that's funny, because that's what I'm going to ask you next is, where do you guys think now you can find the best stuff? Is it the retail shops, eBay, online, mom and pop stores?
It's a little bit everything.
Private collectors?
Moms and pop stores, maybe out in the Midwest still. I don't know what's going on in the world.
Flea markets?
And I'll be there soon.
Yeah.
No, it's pretty much at the shows. It's pretty much people coming in now and selling their collection.
Yeah, but you do got to get out there. I mean, one of the things is, the success of Toy Hunter has allowed me and Steve some
great.
sort of affordability to relax a little
Yeah.
bit, because we got all the collections coming in. But we do have to go out to the shows too, because you make a lot of contacts at the shows. People going, hey, I wanted to meet you. I got a toy collection, or you know what, you got a card because I got a lot of stuff at home.
You got to put your brand out there.
Yeah, well, they stop by. You got to be there.
gotta be
You
there, yeah.
got to be out there. So there were a lot of shows we missed because we were filming on the road, and we'd talk to like people, and they'd be like, my God, a collection walked into Chicago. You missed it.
Ooh.
He was looking for you, and you weren't there. This other guy got it, So we got to be out there all the time.
Yeah, you got to hit out like some of the Midwest shows, and there's still
Yeah.
guys like us that are coming up with their case fresh Carter figures that they had.
Bastards.
And I'm hearing about it.
Somebody always wants that, and somebody's got to bring it in.
Yeah.
Payne County just had a huge show, and I heard a lot of good stuff was coming out there. So I think we're gonna go out there.
Yeah.
How do you guys feel about the future of Star Wars toys with Disney involved in the mix now?
I love it. I love it. See, we're both, he doesn't like it. I love it. I love it.
Why do you like it?
Because Star Wars was originally intended as a kids movie, sci-fi, children, everything.
He's like the son of George Lucas.
We love it. You know what? We were all in our 20s. No, 20s. Listen, I was 7 when that came out. We were kids. We were kids. That's how come it meant so much to us. Disney is the keeper of the flame. I think they're going to do a great job. I think they're going to make it more entertaining for children. I've seen some early set photos, which were online and everything, and they're doing less CGI.
Did you see that picture of the X-wing being built? And
Oh no, I didn't see that one.
It went this morning. There's an X-wing that looks like has a short nose. It looks like a concept, like a Joe Johnston looking X-wing.
Oh, you have to show me that.
It's interesting.
It's online?
It's online. I think TMZ might have snapped it, or Star Wars aficionado might have it.
Oh, show me when you get a chance. But there were photos of, they were on the set in the desert, and everything, and a lot of the creatures look more organic.
Yeah,
and everything.
they're in Abu Dhabi.
I think it's going to be great. I think it's going to be wonderful. I think Disney will keep the Star Wars franchise alive for the next 50 years.
I think Star Wars toys are always going to be popular, but I'm saying, like, what you're trying to say, putting these toys away, the brand new stuff that's going to be coming out?
No, in terms of, would Disney just go nuts and overproduce the material, turn it...
Well, 1996 is still... Everybody comes in here that I have vintage, Star Wars, and then me and him go with it, and it's like 1996. We're like, this ain't vintage.
Yeah, but Disney might make it crazy like that, and they might make overproduce a lot of stuff. But they
saw some of the Disney stuff at the one guy's house,
right? But they also make a lot of limited edition stuff. That Disney is smart enough. They've been in the game long enough to say, all right, we're going to make all this stuff for children, but for the high-end collector, we're going to make 500 pieces. We're going to put out like $1,000. That's the stuff that's going to be worth a lot of money because it shouldn't be out there.
Yeah, the limited edition stuff is going to be worth money.
At least they have the financial backing to keep it alive and keep it relevant to, for collectors.
So did Lucas, but I mean, I think he just lost control of his vision, or maybe people were beating him down after a while, and he's kind of a perfectionist too. He keeps wanting to tweak it.
Well, he was also very conflicted, I guess, because on one hand he wants to be a very un-Hollywoody type of person, but on the other hand he was managing this huge infrastructure of marketing and merchandising that goes kind of against his own way of being.
Yeah, he was I've met George a couple of times, and he was always sort of very like, he wants hands off of the big business and everything, but then he's the head of a multi-billion-dollar company. Yeah. And he's in it because you can't walk down the street without people coming up, Jar Jar Binks, and what the hell are you thinking and everything. And after a while, it's got to get to someone. I mean, it's got to get to you. And I can appreciate that.
Yeah, just like an actor, I guess, always somebody hounding them for an autograph or something.
Yeah,
just
people coming up to me on the street. Toy Hunter sucks.
Yeah,
I'm like, oh my
why
God.
did you do that?
But I'll still take an autograph.
Right. Yeah.
Have you guys ever had an item that you bought as a child, let's say, for example, and you misplaced it, lost it, and never were able to find it, and lost in a flood? Or because I always hear stories about, I had them all, and they were all lost in the flood.
That never happened to me.
No, I never had nothing in the flood, but I still, to this day, I do have a storage unit where I could probably say, my wife always says, do you really know what's in there? And I'm like, no, but eventually I'll dig some stuff out. I'm like, wow, I can't believe I still have it.
Yeah.
That's cool when you find something you completely forgot about. Before you guys were involved with the Toy Hunter show, and before you turned your passion into a business, what did your family think of collecting toys?
Thought it was crazy.
Well,
Crazy.
They thought I was crazy. And
Friends, family, they're like, get a job.
And even when I was selling toys, like when I was in my even when I was in my 20s before I worked at Starlog and everything, and even after Starlog, I'd go and I'd sell collectible toys. And, my parents were like, well, when are you going to get a real job? And I'm like, well, I'm making money. They're like, yeah, but you can do this like in your 20s. And then they're like, well, maybe you can do this in your 30s. I'll tell you, it actually ruined, and I'll be honest with you right now, and I'm saying this to all your listeners, don't feel bad about this. I lost girlfriends over time because I remember women who I cared about a lot, and they're like, I just can't picture me being married to a toy dealer. Or like, and a girl, I remember being at a party, and I was a new, girlfriend being introduced to her friends for the first time, and she whispered to me, she's like, just don't tell them that you're a toy dealer. I'm like, what am I going to tell him? She goes, I told me you were an antiques dealer.
There you go.
I'm like, okay. And she goes, don't say toys. I'm like, what am I going to say? She goes, I don't know, furniture, cutlery.
Collector of rare antiquities.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I mean, it's like, why are you embarrassed,
My family, they told my mom, go get him help. There's something wrong with him. Because, my family were like, you're a 9 to 5 worker. I'm like, really? I'm like, this is what I do. I'm making more money than somebody else that's working 9 to 5.
What flipped it around? What switched it?
The money.
When the money comes
the money.
in, that's
I
when
mean,
respect
you
comes
make
in.
if you got to hustle in this business. I mean, you have got, and that's the one thing I tell people. People write to me and they write to Steve and they come up to us at a show and they're like, I want to become a toy dealer just like you guys. You make it look so fun. It looks awesome. I want to do what you do. And then other people are like, hey man, I know toys. I can do that. It's like, okay, great. Calm down. You've got to hustle. You've got to hustle. And one guy asked me, he said, he was smart. He goes, I realize I have to lose some money. He goes, I'm going to be losing money. He goes, how much should I put away? I said, you've got to put away probably 2 years' salary. Because we lost so much money in this business. I mean, crap. I can remember, Barry, I can remember being at a toy show and picking up and finding like a Sergeant Bilko from the 1960s, a Sergeant Bilko bullhorn.
Yeah, bullhorn, yeah.
And running up to a friend of mine at Kane County going, oh, look at this. Oh my God, look at it. I paid $100 for it. Look at it. It's awesome. And he goes, oh yeah, it's great. He goes, I thought that was good the first time I find it too. He goes, they suck. And you just spend all this money and you pass up these opportunities. You got to be prepared to like lose the money. And you've got to have an exit strategy just in case, especially in these hard times.
Well,
it's tough.
This goes back when we just first started, and he's trying to convince me to do the show. And again, going to the family, going to my friends, also says, what are you, crazy? You got to have a full-time job. You got to do this. Oh, yeah. You need benefits. You blah, 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 And this is what I did. And I took the chance, and I took the plunge. And I thank him very much to get me into this type of business now, being on TV. I love him for 26 years. He's an erotic, but
I'm an erotic.
But we have a good time together.
That's right. And now Steve's a big TV star. Steve's doing Playgirl next month.
Yes.
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 Nice big centerfold.
I'm with Scully.
Come
me and him.
Come get it, boys.
It's funny because a couple of weeks ago I came in and I bought some stuff, but I also bought the mug that says I have a toy problem.
Yes.
I saw you wear the shirt also, and I'm like, it's ironic. It's funny.
That's copyrighted, by the way. Just so you know, it's copyrighted.
But here's the question for you: when does toy collecting become a problem for an individual?
I think really you're talking about obsession now.
When
probably
you run out of money.
Well, there's a lot of different.
I think collecting become a problem, just like anything else in life is when it really impedes your day-to-day functionality, like of what you need to do to maintain a healthy lifestyle. I mean, when it starts having a negative effect on either yourself or the people around you, that's when it becomes a problem. I know people. Steve knows them too. Yeah. We know people who've come and bought toys in the thousands, and they're like, this is my college, this is my kid's college fund. I had a woman back in the 1990s. I was working at Starlog, and the woman, she called me at Starlog, and she's like, my name is so-and-so. I'm so-and-so's husband. I'm like, oh, great. How is he? And I'm like, oh, if you talk to him, tell him I got that thing for him. She says, I'm calling you, begging you not to sell him any more toys. Wow. I was like, really? And she says, he has emptied out our bank account. There is no more money. She's like, and I have no, and the woman was crying. I'm like, okay, I have no problem. So then I called up a buddy of mine, Barry. I called up a buddy of mine. I'm like, hey, so-and-so's wife just called. And he's like, oh, yeah, she called me too. I'm like, isn't it horrible? Did you hear what happened? He goes, yeah, about the money. I'm like, yeah, it's horrible. What'd you tell her? He goes, I told her to piss off. I'm going to keep selling toys.
Keep selling toys, yeah.
He's a grown man. He can do whatever he wants. I'm like, wow. I didn't sell her any more toys, though.
This is a very addicting business. There's guys that need that fix. They have to buy something in here. Yeah. They come in, they're like, and they're so amazed with everything. They're like, you know what? I'm buying it. And they'll come back every week and start buying,
But that's not a toy only. That's just a condition in terms of you could have that same attitude buying clothes, buying shoes, buying cars, whatever you do.
But when is it a problem?
I
don't know. Look at us. I don't know.
It's a problem when they don't have the money to do it anymore.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a problem if it really starts having a negative effect on them, Sometimes we see it, sometimes we don't.
Well, let me ask you about the opposite now. What is the positive aspect of toy collecting? I know for me, for example, whatever toys I've collected through the years, I have an office and I surround myself with those toys and they're there. And each of them has a story. There's an individual story that I could sit down and give you a 20-minute conversation about that box over there. Mm-hmm. And it's a comfortable environment. It's a creative environment.
Yep, that's it.
And that's what it does for me. What does it do for you guys?
Same thing. I mean, it sparks creativity. It eases stress. It eases anxiety for a lot of people. Mm-hmm. I mean, there are people that go into their toy room just to chill out and relax and surround themselves in their childhood. And that's really, really good. I was contacted by some guy in the Midwest. He's one of the pioneers, and he asked me to take part in a study of toy therapy. This guy,
wow,
he's a psychiatrist, and he is this pioneering toy therapy about working with patients, giving them toys from when they were younger to sort of ease the anxiety and everything, because it brings back a happy memory. And it enables them to talk and everything. And in fact, they're using that a lot for children of child abuse, to try and talk about their past and ease their past. They're giving them toys and everything from when they were kids to sort of,
bring them out.
Right. And I'm a great proponent. I was talking about that 15 years ago. Not about child abuse, but about toys in medicine and everything, because they've got music therapy out too.
Well, they do that with pets sometimes. They bring pets to get people to relax and to get more comfortable and that sort of thing.
Exactly.
How about you?
Positive thing, it's keeping a roof over my head, and it's just amazing that you can make a living on this. And I look back and I say, wow, I'm still here in my house. Going to be 27 years.
Yeah.
And toy business is I'm still going strong.
Wow. I mean, there are people, Steve and I have been so long, there are people, I mean, we're two of the oldest people that we know in the business. I mean, when you sit back and you look at the old timers, I mean, there's only like a handful of us left.
He'll be pushing me in my wheelchair.
Some people have died. Yeah. Some people have just gotten out of a lot of people just got out of the business. They're like, oh, it's time to grow.
The internet killed a lot of it too.
eBay and just being able to not
forget
go
your price guide books and all that stuff now.
And we're lucky we have families that support it too. Because, I mean, if you didn't have a wife or a spouse, a husband, a family who supported this, I mean, I've taken my family to shows in the past that have sucked all weekend. Ooh. I've come home where there's been like a mortgage is due. And I'm like, don't worry, I got the show this weekend. I should be able to do like $2,000. And you come home and, your spouse is waiting, like, how'd you do? We got the mortgage payment, and you hand them like $500, and you're like, the show was horrible. And you only give them $500, and then you're like, now what? And it's crazy. It's crazy.
You have good shows, bad shows.
Good shows, bad shows.
But now the shows are getting so crazy. You see New York Comic Con. What are they pulling in? 125,000 people for the 4 days? It's insane.
For the 4 days, I think it was like 160,000.
On Thursday, when we set up last year, the sales were amazing. 2,000, 1,500, another 2,000. We're like, wow, these people are walking away with big stuff.
But you got to remember, it's also a big nut. To do New York Comic Con for us, it's cost about $10,000.
Oh, we were talking about the prices of the tables.
You got tables.
Incredible.
People look at me and they're like, oh, 2,000. Okay, so you got like $4,000. Big deal. You got truck rental. You've got to pay your staff. You've got to feed your staff. You probably have to. Well, we're lucky we can go in and out of New York.
So but
if you do like a show like Stevie and I do like Star Wars Celebration down in Florida. You got to pay for a room, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. And I'll be honest, I mean, I'm to a point in my life right now where I'm kind of an old fart set in my ways. I'm not going to share a room with 4 or 5 people. Because I still see people like, hey, man, I'm going to Star Wars.
7,
you want to share my room? Me and 8 people.
No, we did that years ago.
Everyone's like chipping in like $30 a night. Screw that. Get my own room.
We had like 7 guys in a room that one time up in Pennsylvania.
It's like a cage.
Yeah.
You know, like, get out of here.
I got a piece of the floor with a pillow. Come on.
So I want to get.
Bathtub.
Yeah. So you got to pay for everyone to get their own room so they can be properly rested because you don't want them exhausted the next day or grumpy.
Yeah.
You know, have them, you want them showered and shaved and everything.
And then they're talking all night. So why did you get a room? You can stay downstairs in the lobby and talk all night.
Shut up.
Shut up. We want to get them sleep a little bit. You know?
So it's a big nut to do the show. You got to make it. And then if it costs you $10,000 to do a show and you make $20,000, people are like, oh, you doubled your money. Well, not really. You covered your nut, and then now you covered the cost of the merchandise. Yeah. You still got to make like another 10. You got to do like 30.
I mean, I guess you're lucky if you break even at some point.
After a while, it was crazy. Like sometimes I go to shows and I turn to Steve. I'm like, why am I even doing the show? Like, because everyone's like, oh, I didn't know you're here. I was going to call you, or I was going to go by your store. I didn't know you were here. I could have just stayed at home and made the money.
Yeah.
And gone and just shopped the show. So.
Do you think we are in a point now, as far as the business goes, because of the whole geek culture that seems to have been, Big Bang Theory and The Nerdist and a whole bunch of that stuff coming in. Do you think we're at the peak, or we're starting to decline, or we're kind of riding that wave? Right?
I think we're riding the wave.
Yeah.
I mean, I think people are like, it's cool, it's here. I don't think it's on a decline.
No.
I think it's a lot more than it was.
Right.
But I think it's cool. And I think it'll be, riding waves. Waves can last for 10 years. Waves can last for 20 years. You go
into your convenience stores now, and they have a little section of collectibles now. So it's growing. It's really growing.
Yeah, it's been around. It's it's a wave that's been around like for 5 years, and then with Toy Hunter 3 years ago, and 3.5 years ago, and then Comic Book Man and stuff like that. I mean, it's still going, and I don't think there's anything wrong with it.
Good. So we're safe then.
Hopefully.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. We're good.
Well, don't throw your toys away yet.
Yeah.
Well, and if you are going to throw them, bring them here first. Tell us about your store. Where are you?
We are right in downtown, the heart of Westwood, New Jersey. We're on 7 Bergen Street. We're right across from the movie theater. It's kind of nice because we're off the beaten path. So we're quiet, which is nice when we film because we don't have tons of people coming in. Look for us. We're here.
And you're online also?
And we're online at HollywoodHeroes.com, and you can always follow me on Twitter at Jordan Hembrough, Facebook Jordan Hembrough, and also Facebook Hollywood Heroes Incorporated. So you can always find me. I'm around.
And also on the Travel Channel, you guys are at the Toy Hunter show.
Yeah.
Toy Hunter.
Yeah.
Toy Hunter.
Not the Toy Hunter.
Toy Hunter.
I always throw the "the" in there.
I know.
No.
It's the show's been on for 3 years. People still can't get the name right. They either go, oh, I love Toy Hunters. I'm like, good. What show's that?
Yeah.
And they're like, I love the Toy Hunter. I'm like, I like Toy Hunter. It's cool. But yeah.
Pick one.
Pick one. Pick one. Lock it in. Yeah.
And is there a 4th season coming?
We are on hiatus right now. What's going on is we wrapped filming and people are off kind of doing other projects. So this is a chance for the network to kind of figure out what they want to do in terms of scheduling and programming and stuff like that.
So we're crossing our fingers.
Crossing our fingers. Yeah. I'm doing stuff with DC. I'm doing stuff with some Marvel stuff. Stevie's got some projects in the works. So you'll see our mugs around.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Stevie.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jordan.
Thank you.
And we'll see you guys soon here at Geekfest Rants. Thanks again.
Right. Thank you.
It's the world's greatest superhero collection, featuring Batman and the other half of the dynamic duo, Robin. The Hulk, that green superhero, he's fully posable. Falcon, the winged black superhero. Shazam and Iron Man. The world's greatest superheroes collection. Each superhero action figure sold separately from Mego.
They're the A-Team. You know they're soldiers of fortune. They're the A-Team. Helping people in need. Pretend that you're Hannibal. Murdoch, Face, or maybe B.A. Baracus. You know each one is the case. Each is sold separately with right-wing gear. If there's trouble to face, you know the A-Team's here. They're the A-Team. A-Team. Hannibal, Face, Murdoch, and B.A. Baracus. Each is sold separately from Krona Toys.